Good morning, this is Angela with Park Rose Permaculture. It is another scorching hot day in Portland, Oregon. We're at the very end of July. I am down in the chicken run, which is part of our orchard. So I have 1/4 acre with tons and tons of fruit trees. I keep a lot of them in the chicken run because my chickens and ducks are really good at, one, depositing their manure, two, providing cleanup of fallen fruit and pests, and the trees are good at providing shade because chickens are jungle fowl. They really like living in the understory. They feel safer, particularly because we have hawks in the neighborhood. Not that the hawks are a threat to them, but just it makes them feel safer. So I find it works really well to keep my chickens in an orchard setting. It's mutually beneficial to the trees and to the poultry. So I'm down here. I have a super dwarf apple here. I have a semi-dwarf apple. I have another apple that I'm rehabbing, quince, 2 jujubes, and then behind it I have this really large tree back here. And believe it or not, this is a tree that I pruned radically in the fall. You can see the canopy is all the way up here. And this is my Desert King fig. This is a fig tree that gets discussed often in gardening groups here in Portland. So in my zone 8B, we have enough of a mild winter that you can grow figs straight in the ground. And you don't have to grow them in pots, and you don't have to lay them over like you do up in northern Washington state in the winter. You can literally just grow them in the ground. If we have a really big cold snap, we can get frost damage, but in general, it's not a problem. And one of the varieties that's recommended for Portland is the Desert King fig. I really love this fig. It's a big, juicy green fig with a pink interior. I'm going to show them to you in a second. The catalogs say that this tree is about 12 feet, and that is not true. If you do the research and you look at most of the growers and suppliers and in the Fig Addicts group, you'll see that this tree will actually get 35 feet tall. It is not a dwarf fig. So to grow this fig, you need to prune it diligently. So again, I pruned it in the fall, and you can see it's already very tall, and I've got to come and take back some of it is over the fence into my neighbor's yard. One of the reasons that Desert King figs are so desired and sought after is because the figs themselves are very large and very tasty. The other reason is because it is more cold hardy. And then lastly, because it is a kind of fig that does not need pollination to set tasty fruit. And this fig will give you 1 crop a year of figs. So I wanted to talk today about how to know when to pick the figs, because I see folks picking their figs and saying they're not very tasty, they aren't very sweet. And a fig has higher bricks than just about any other fruit. The only thing I think is comparable to it in the garden is a persimmon, a fruit that is intensely sweet, no acid to it, and just tastes like pure sugar. Right? So your fig should have a very strong, complex flavor profile, and it should be very sweet. If you are picking it and it doesn't taste like that, it's not ripe. So let's go in and look. A couple of things about figs. So you can see here, I did a little bit of heading back because some of the branches broke, and then some of them were just in my way. And here's one of the figs on it. This fig is not ripe yet. So a couple of things to be aware of. Figs produce a chemical called ficin, F-I-C-I-N. A lot of people are very allergic to it, and it produces a red blistery rash. This kind of latex, you can see it oozing out of the plant. When you cut it, it is a white sap. So when you are picking your figs, there is this area. Let me see if I can find one and get a better view of it. We're going to have to duck in here. Give me a second. Come around here. It's a little bit of a jungle right now. Okay, so here's some of our figs. And where the fig attaches to the plant, there is this abscission layer where it's growing, and that's where you should be able to pop it off when it's ripe. If you go to break your fig off and that area right here oozes white sap on the fig and on the plant, it's not ripe yet. That is that ficin, and be careful about getting that on your hands, and that is an indication your fig is not ready to pick yet. So So I'm crunching under all these prunings here. It's a little loud when I walk. So how do you know when your fig is ripe? If you pick one, it oozes that white sap, it's not going to be ready yet. It's not going to have peak flavor. One of the great benefits of having figs in your home garden is that you can get them at a level of ripeness you can never find in the store. The flavor is much more complex and matured, and you will never find that because figs that are mature don't ship well. It's part of the reason they're dried. Or they're either picked under mature and never get a chance to develop that intense flavor, or they are dried. So if you want a fresh eating fig with all of the potential flavor, you need to grow it yourself. So how to know when your fig is ready? It should come off easily. If you have to work at it, it's not ready. It takes a lot of effort, it's not ready. The second way to tell is what it looks like when it's hanging on the branch. So if you come in and you look at your fig, and it is like this one here, and it is sticking, let's see if I can get my camera to focus, it's struggling in the sun here. It is sticking out almost horizontal, and the neck of the fig is still really rigid. Right here is still really rigid and kind of sticks straight out. It's not ready. So you know your fig is ready when the neck of the fig bends down. Let's look at this one here. I can get all these leaves out of my way. So you see this one, when it was not quite ready yesterday, it looked like this. When it droops and you get this J shape to the neck of the fig, it's ready to pick. It gets kind of floppy. And when you feel the fig, it's a little bit more supple and you can push on it a little bit harder. Now, to pick it, you want to lift and you want to pop it off at that abscission layer. And remember how I talked before, if the fig is not ripe, it will ooze that white sap. Sorry, I have dirty gardener hands. This fig is not doing that. So it is ripe and ready to pick. And if it's not ripe, I hate to waste one, but let me pick one that's not ready yet and see if I can show you the difference here. So when you pick your fig and it's underripe, and again, I'm going to be careful. Here's one that's not ripe and you can see it's oozing that white sap. Ripe fig does not have white sap. It looks pale green. Unripe fig oozing white sap. When you pick it and you break into the middle of it, you'll find that it's dry and pithy. And the fig will be pink inside because it's maturing, but it'll be very dry. Okay? So this is not ready to eat. It won't taste very good. This is about when they're picked and shipped to stores. So you want to look for that J shape to the neck of your fig. And I'm one-handed, so let me open up this fig here and show you what it looks like inside. Okay, so here is my ripe fig. It's just really juicy, soft. You notice the outside layer is not thick and white anymore. Very, very sweet and almost kind of jam-like consistency to the middle of the fruit. Versus the unripe fig has that thicker white outside and it's dry. And therefore it doesn't have that good flavor. So let me taste this and tell you a little bit what it tastes like. I'm going to be a good chicken mom and give half to my chickens and ducks because they love figs. Growing figs in your orchard is a great idea if you have chickens free-ranging here because they will clean up any fallen figs before they get overrun with yellow jackets or ants. Okay, so let me take a bite here. Y'all can watch my... Okay, so this fig is characterized as being one of the more strawberry-like flavored figs, and I do think it has a very good strawberry flavor, but it has hints of watermelon, almost like a Jolly Rancher. It's so sweet. It's just pure sugar. Yeah, I would definitely characterize it as strawberry with a hint of watermelon. It's a great fresh eating fig. Now, this variety of fig will sometimes split on its own. It is one of the reasons this is not my favorite fig. Especially if we get rain, these tend to split as they're maturing. Again, I'm under this canopy. This tree is very large, great shade, but it is going to need quite a bit of pruning. But I do think the Desert King is a good variety, good consistent producer year after year. It grows easily from cuttings. In fact, you have to be careful in composting your cuttings because you may end up with bonus baby fig trees you weren't counting on. I don't think that this is as good of a fig for making jam. as some of the other figs because of that green color. I think if you use a dark purple fig, you're going to have more success here. Okay, so I'm gonna pick a bunch more of these figs and eat them, and they will be ripe over the next several weeks. They ripen down the length, so I'll be enjoying figs every day, but they are ephemeral, so you do need to get out there and pick them every day. Wait for them to hit that peak ripeness, and you won't be sorry.